What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me this morning, still here in Central Time. This is Carlos, the host of the Just Fans podcast, and I'm joined by the Dan the Man, the great Dan himself, Dan Harris from Let's Talk Sports. How's it going, Dan?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Glad to be back on with you. And yeah, it's just something me and Carlos was talking, and obviously Carlos has some time free for his work situation, so we thought, why not do a summer sort of morning show, if you will? So looking forward to it, Carlos.
Oh, thank you. Yes, sir. Yeah, like Dan said, I my schedule's kind of a little whack when I go back. If y'all don't know, I teach, so obviously I have the summers off, thankfully, because we sure need it. And so this is one of those shows. Like in the morning, I get to hang out with Dan, which is great because I look forward to those. And then how do you call it? We also have our Wednesday wrestling live shows also, where we talk some wrestling, which is new. And so, thank you for those who are joining us, just hanging out. For those of you who are maybe taking a lunch break and for some reason want to listen to me, then I appreciate you. But always listen to Dan. Dan's great. All right, Dan. I think we were talking about a little bit of the Texans, right? Some player expectations and whatnot. Um, so let's talk some Texans.
Yeah, I think the best place to start is we talked the quarterback last episode, but
Hmm.
I think we both feel that it's not really competition of the true sense of the word,
Right.
but just for optics. But that being said, um, two things. When do you think CJ will be named QB1, and what is your expectations for him going into the season?
So realistically, for me, it's more like I know that he's in OTAs. He's been doing pretty well. There's numerous reports. I think NFL Rookie Watch, it's a on Twitter mentioned that he has this leadership. He has this leadership mentality during OTAs, and he's standing out a lot. I think what's the name? The rookie wide receiver Noah Brown. He sees comparisons between him and Dak Prescott, which is his former QB. I know that Dak Prescott is probably not the best example there, but um, I mean, as far as leadership is concerned, maybe that's a good thing. A lot of people are comparing him to a more of like already like a senior, not a senior, but like a veteran quarterback presence. Like he's taking command, which is great because even if you're a rookie, like you have to make sure that you're the leader. You're going to become the leader. This is going to be your franchise as time goes on. So obviously, I think it's very mature of him. It's great that he's taking on the leadership role, and I know that Davis Mills and him are rotating between first team offense in OTAs to compete. I think we talked about it last week, Dan, where we felt like that was it's great because it probably it brings out competition. Now I know it's like, well, what can Davis Mills bring out? Well, even if like any competition is good competition because it's going to bring the best out of you, right? So to answer your question though, I think I'm expecting the Texans to name CJ Stroud QB1. Let's just say probably. I think they're going to drag this out even through training camp. Not the training camp, through preseason. I think before game one of of the NFL, I think they're gonna name him like just a few days beforehand, before game one. Um, I That's what I'm thinking, that they're gonna drag it out.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be more or less around roster cut down
Hmm.
time. That's probably when they will the decision will be made, probably before then, and you'll be able to tell
Hmm.
because if they rest him the final game of the
Right.
season, then
Hmm.
the decision's already made.
Basically, yeah. Big shout out to Tino's time. Tino, what's up, guys? Good morning. What's up, Tino? Thank you for showing your support on the comment section. I appreciate you. Oh, of course. Good old Sam said, "My expectation is for Carlos to admit his love and admiration for me." Never. What's up,
I'd say, I know Carlos has had a bit to drink over the weekend, but he could never be that drunk
yeah,
personally.
yeah, exactly. I have all my senses now, and I think I will say no. Sam, thank you. Yeah, no, yeah. So I agree with you 100%. Then if they do rest them like the last week before the regular season begins, um, then yeah, I could see big. It would definitely be a dead giveaway that hey, he's going to be your week one starter. But I think all of us here in Houston are expecting him to be week one starter. A few months back, before we even knew who we were getting at quarterback, we knew that it was going to be between Bryce or CJ, right? That was a speculation that was happening. I want to say around March, even yeah, around March or so. Um, and March or even February, all around that time, earlier in the year. And so I remember I was in a space with just local Texans fans and media. They held a space on Twitter, and one of the guys that was in there was John McClain, who's very well known here in Houston media and also for Tennessee over there with the Titans. Um, he's well known here, and so they asked a few of like people local of whoever was in the space if they had any questions. um I was one of those that got to ask John McClain a question, and so I asked him again. This is before we knew who was going to be our quarterback or whatnot. So I asked him, I was like, hey, if the Texans draft either CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, do you see either one of these guys being a week one starter? And he said definitely the Texans would be, in his own words, the Texans would be kind of dumb to not draft a rookie quarterback that high and not start him week one. Um, Also because Davis Mills has not been. He didn't say that, but he didn't say the Davis Mills part. But also because Davis Mills really hasn't shown to be the guy, the your leader or anything. There's like some flashes of some ability there with Davis Mills, but I don't think it's been enough to where you're definitely considered an elite quarterback. You're more like a backup quarterback at best. Uh, and I think he can be, but it's just a mental game with Davis Mills, in my opinion. But he said he would definitely consider one of these guys week one starters. And at the end of the day, I think we've said this before in other podcasts. If CJ Stroud really can't beat Davis Mills and OTAs, then we got a little problem here, y'all.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And I know Mr. First Down made an interesting comment
Mhm.
about CJ being the best QB
Yep.
in the
So
draft because
he
I
wrote
do
a.
feel he's the yep. So
No, no. So I was gonna read. He says John McClain is one of the greatest people I've met in reading his work, and then I think he just commented right now. C.J. Stroud, in my opinion, is the best QB in the draft. Granted, I'm not high on any of them, but I think he's the best one of the bunch. I think that's what you were saying, right, Dan?
yeah,
Mhm.
I agree he's the best prototypical quarterback what you'd expect.
Mhm.
If that's your thing, because obviously some like maybe a bit more of a running threat, but if you want just
Mhm.
a good quarterback metrics, I think he's your guy. I do feel um he has a little bit of his play style reminds me a bit of Herbert in some
Mhm.
ways, and I'm not saying he'll be as good as him
Yeah.
necessarily, but some of his play style reminds me of him.
Yeah. No, definitely. I could see that as well. Going back to the Georgia game when he played against Georgia, I mean he was missing his starter, his his Marvin Harrison. He was missing. Uh, his top receiver as well, and then it was just like, and then I think you're his tight end as well, and he still, you know, tore up that Georgia defense, which was like unstoppable, and to only lose to a field goal, that just speaks highly about that kid. I think he opened up a lot of eyes on that game. And honestly, if that is any way that if he's that's how he's going to go through the NFL. I mean, honestly, that to me, it's a great pick that we got, with CJ. So I think that says a lot about him. If that's any indication of how his career in the NFL is going to go, I think we're pretty good at the quarterback position. If that's how it happens.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the only thing what I would have wished they did a little bit more is I might have wanted one more vet in the room just because you've got a youngish room
Hmm.
outside of Woods. Is that something you'd like? I know they moved out Cooks and it
Hmm.
probably wasn't workable. I don't know
Yeah.
everything what went on, but
Hmm.
according to the rumours, he definitely wanted out. But would you have liked to see them bring in maybe one more safety blanket, if you will, what's just been there, done it in the league?
Hmm. Yeah, honestly, I would say yes. Any help to build up to any weapons to help CJ, our young rookie quarterback coming in, would definitely be great. Um, Obviously, when the whole DeAndre Hopkins thing was happening, I was like, oh, he'd be great for him, or whatnot. Obviously, that's not going to happen with the Texans or whatnot. But I am pretty confident on some of the Tank Dell was one of the rookie receivers that we got straight out of U of H, also University of Houston here in Houston locally. And it's funny, CJ. I was in a pod. We were in a podcast this weekend. I think it was yesterday, and we mentioned how do you call it? How CJ Stroud really wanted Tank Dell to be with the Texans, and he actually went off, but he told the Texans front office about Tank Dell. And the Texans looked into it, and here we are. We have him. During OTAs, um, he's been getting really good chemistry with him. There's another receiver. Oh wow, I think it's Humphreys or something. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, and I know it, but I'm drawing a blank right now. Who's also making rounds with how do you call it, with CJ Stroud and OTAs. And it's actually, they're building chemistry, and at the end of the day, you when you build chemistry with your receivers, I mean, that's what you want, right? There's also talks about Mechie coming back, but the thing is, Mechie, I mean, he didn't play all last year because of his diagnosis, and so we're still a little. We don't know what to expect from John Mechie himself. If he's if he's gonna stand out or whatnot. Another wide receiver that has been getting pretty good reps with how do you call it, with CJ Stroud has been Nico Collins. And Nico Collins, he's entering his what I think his third year here with us in the organization. So this time it's time for him to stand up. Now there hasn't been much about Nico Collins because, I mean, if you really think about it, he hasn't had a really good quarterback to throw at him. So we don't really know if that's what we've seen of Nico has been the best yet, until you have either a better quarterback throwing at him, and I think we're gonna find out. So right now, the wide receiver, I know from an outsider perspective, it might seem like it's we're weak in that position, and it may be true, but right now, I think they're a little underrated to the point where, like, hey, it may actually surprise some people coming going forward. Obviously, having Cooks would have been a little bit helpful, but I think we're okay right now in that position. Of course, Tank Dell, he's speedy. Height is, a little. He's a little shorter, but other than that, I mean, the speed. Look at Tyreek Hill. He's not the tallest guy out there either, and he's speedy. So you never know what you're going to get. Honestly, we're going to have to see it out on the play out. Let me read some comments real quick because I think Mr. Sam posted something really quick. He said he faced adversity against arguably the best defense in college. He will face adversity in the NFL. Overcoming things is a great trait to have. That is true. I mean, if you look at his story though, CJ Stroud has had countless amount of adversity in his life, and he's overcame a lot of it. So I think it's almost secondhand nature for him to overcome whatever adversity is thrown his way, which that builds character. Leadership is built by character. So I think this is great for him. Sorry, Dan, I talk a lot.
No, no, it's no problem, and I do agree. Look, it takes all walks of life. You never know what will be a success, but I do firmly believe if you've had to face some adversity in life, whatever it is, I think you're probably going to grind harder. There is the old conversation what the Jets had with Zach Wilson because he come
Hmm.
from a privileged lifestyle. Did he appreciate that this is a chance in the room? Because a lot of the reason where the work effort comes is you have a chance to earn some generational money for your family, and he already has that. So, I do think there is something to be said for a quarterback coming having a bit of a backstory behind them because it might just keep their head on a bit more.
And that's what you're that's what we hope, like that he takes it seriously. And it looks like, again, from the reports from OTAs, I think there was one instance where they were doing plays and he got an interception. CJ got intercepted, but then after that he shook it off, and then he when they went back to it, he led the team into a touchdown. So again, he made up for it, if you will. And so I think the last time I heard they were practicing like in the red zone. I think that's where, I don't know if that's where he was having a little bit more trouble in the red zone, but we'll see what happens. We'll see how he gets better. Again, right now it's all like, it's funny because I wish, like with Davis Mills, I can talk to you about like all the things that are going wrong because we're familiar with him. But still, right now with CJ, yeah, you can compare his college stuff, but this is still the NFL nowadays. It's still, he's now in the NFL, so you haven't. There's no film on him. There's nothing. So I expect him to be pretty decent when he comes out. But eventually, once like there's more film on him, that to me, that's when the real challenges. I mean, not that he's not going to have real challenges to begin with, but once they get film on him, that's when more of those challenges are going to come in, and he's going to face more adversity to begin with. Then Sam also wrote, CJ overcame a lot, just a superstar. Just a superstar does. And if we're talking about superstars, we got to be talking about the man L.A. Knight. Yeah, sorry. Apparently Sam is really really high on LA Knight right now. Wrestling.
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess that obviously,
Yeah,
not my strongest
right. You're good.
area, but um, so on the flip side with defense, I wanted to get your opinion on it
Hmm.
because I know you have had your struggles on defense, but
Hmm.
I do feel that you've got the pieces to build a really strong um, defense. Obviously, added the stud pass rusher, added Stingley last year. So I do
Hmm.
feel that you do have the pieces that you could develop into the defense. What Texan fans want, because I know good defense is always a big thing for the fan base.
Yeah, no, exactly. Honestly, yeah, the defense, I feel like it started. There was, I like Lovey. I like Lovey Smith. I respected him a lot at the beginning, but after all that, I mean, whatever. But agree to disagree with the Lovey Smith stuff. The thing about Lovey Smith, he uses a lot of the Tampa 2 defense. So I think Derek Stingley, which was one of those guys that still yet to be seen, and still yet to be proven. I know he did a lot of great things in college, um, and he went off against like Jamar Chase. He went against some of the top names, and Justin Jefferson when he was a rookie, and then he was covering them really well. But at at that point, when he came over to, he's had some injuries. He had the Liz Frank injury, um, and then he went to the Texans, where he got injured again. I mean, I feel like he was good to go, but they just kind of decided to rest him or whatnot towards the end. Uh, but I feel like he wasn't being played to his full potential with the Tampa 2 defense. Um, and he's that's why we didn't see him. I mean, he had some good plays, but it didn't. I don't think it was his forte. So now with D'Amico being the defensive mastermind that he is, coming in with the Texans, I think he's going to utilize Derek Stingley a lot better than what he was when he was with Lovie Smith's defense and Tampa too. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him on the field along with some bright spots. I mean, even last year, even on the Tampa 2, we had Jalen Petrie who was making plays. If you remember that Cowboys game against the Texans, um, Jalen Petrie was all over the place. One of the biggest reasons why we were able to kind of take the Cowboys to overtime. He's definitely going to be a superstar. Somebody that's going to be talked about at safety. Jalen Petrie, number 5 for the Texans. That was his rookie year, and he was he was one of the big reasons why the Texans were able to take the Cowboys to overtime. He was all over it. And now with the addition of Jimmy Ward also from the 49ers, I think that's just going to be a pretty solid defense. We got Will Anderson that got signed in, and apparently D'Amico says, "Oh, we got a plan for you." Like that, to me, that makes me feel confident in our team because it feels like we're finally doing what we should have been doing these past few years. And it's great. I'm actually I've told Rios and my guys, and you probably heard it on my podcast. We're excited finally, and for like the first time in a while as Texans fans to see what's going to be displayed out on the field as opposed to just dealing with all this stuff we've been dealing for the last couple 3 years or whatever. But defensively, I think it's going to rank. I can comfortably say that the defense is going to rank pretty high this year with all the pieces that they have dressed. I think maybe the linebacking core is still a little soft. Not soft. I'm sorry, that's not the word I want to use. It's still a little worrisome in the linebacking core. However, we got Perriman, but I don't know how much you're going to get out of him. We got Terry Hughes. We got some linebackers here, but I mean, Jonathan Grenard. So we got some people, but it just depends on what we're going to do. Because last season, the biggest weakness was the run defense. We were ranked either dead last or somewhere along the lines with Cleveland. Um, but our the backside of it was a no fly zone. We were pretty good in the with our DBs, so that was pretty fun. But I think the Texans also just signed somebody up at Malik Collins up at the front, so that front seven should be good. It's just all depends on how it lines up on the field.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they're building their defense. Reminds me a little of how the Jets did it a couple
Hmm.
of years back, adding premium uh, draft picks to it, but also hitting on those mid rounds, and that's what you need to do. Obviously,
Hmm.
not everyone can be a first rounder, but if you can in the fifth round find a linebacker or maybe even cornerback free, then
Hmm.
that just helps build your defense up quicker.
No, definitely. I think those pieces that the Texans have is just going to it's they're gonna I think they're gonna contribute into making the defense a lot stronger. And then even if it's not this year, then you got next year also. The Texans salary cap is through the roof next year too. So you can also add some stars up in there as well. They have one of the best salary caps right now. Um, how do you call it? I think they have the fifth most salary cap in 2023. I think at 37.1 million. So they're going to be set pretty well as far as financially too. So you got the draft picks and you got the salary cap as well. So you can add some pieces. It could actually be a difference maker. Sam wrote, "Does anyone else not like the OTA's mistakes being thrown out there? I mean, definitely report it, but I think it's things that people automatically jump to conclusions every time it's reported. And then confidence is contagious. It exudes from the top to the bottom. We feel the same way about Vrabel. He instills confidence that you will find your way through the season. D'Amico could be the same way. I agree, Sam. I agree with that logic.
Yeah, and OTA thing is something I've discussed on a few things. Look, you take note of it both as a fan and as a
Mhm.
coach. However, OTAs are there for to learn what you can and can't do, what
Mhm.
you can get away with. So it's always the thing, does the player learn from that? And I remember in OTAs, Jimmy G threw, I believe, 5 interceptions in a
Yeah.
row, and then they went to the Super Bowl. Now, I'm not
Yeah.
saying Jimmy G's like the top five QB, but
Yeah.
I just feel that's an example of
Right.
look, I'll never get too high or low on OTAs. A prime
Mhm.
example is last year, Zach Wilson looked very good in OTAs,
Mhm.
and we know how the season played out last year.
Right. And yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That, like I said, we won't really know what it is. Like those are the things that that are being reported from OTAs. That kind of make you feel good, kind of don't. It is it's subjective, really. But I think it won't make any difference until you see what's on the field. And I think that's what it is. Once it's on the field, I think that's when you'll have a better picture of like, okay, how is this guy going to be? How effective or whatnot. And again, I think that's why they do the whole the preseason thing as well. See how many men you can cut down too. Obviously there's some that obviously you can't cut like CJ or anybody like that, right? But you get a feel of what you're gonna expect or whatnot.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, so it is going to be interesting. We will see. I think we're going to learn a lot about this team
Hmm.
come well camp, but mostly pre-season as well. I'm excited to see what they've got. Obviously, in you guys, I've got vested interest in the
Yeah.
Texans, so I'll be watching them with interest.
Oh, thanks, Dan. We appreciate it. It's what's funny is that I think we got a few people because I know that the Texans, even with the name itself, they're not as marketable as most teams, right? But since we've been talking about them a lot, obviously, we've added a few people to their fandom, so I think that's been funny. I think the Texans should start paying us. That's what it is, just to get more fans on there. We'll be like their sales reps, sell people on
I'm
the
not
Texans.
sure the Texans are ready for Rio's
Yeah.
drinking
Oh
beer
yeah.
on
You
episode.
just picture Reels with a mug. You want in on this team or not? No? All right. And then he cusses them out. That's how I see Reels doing it.
For sure. So before we wrap things up, we've got
Hmm.
to talk Astros. How you feeling all in all? Is it after obviously suffering a few
Hmm.
injuries just before the season? Do you feel the season's about what you thought it'd be at the moment? Just um, keep ticking along, and you'll
Hmm.
probably have a stronger end than you begun the season.
I want to say that right now I'm almost. I mean, I'm not, but I'm kind of like almost like, come on, guys, let's get this together, kind of a thing. A lot of I think I've talked to Rios and the guys, and then I've said it on a few podcasts too. I think one of the biggest problems right now is the cohesiveness of this team. Yes, there are injuries. Lance McCullers, who was during the season, he's usually a pretty decent pitcher. He's one of our starters. He's out. He's done for the season, most likely. I think he had a surgery, and I think he's done for the season, or he would come back like late in the season, like October, if anything. But we never know. So he's going to be out for a good while. So that puts us in a pickle, kind of. We've been cruising along, and I'm using that term loosely, cruising along with like Black, BJ Francis. Actually, France has been okay. These guys that we didn't have, that weren't starting on the roster last season when we won the World Series. Um, and so and then now we started having issues with our closers too, like Ryan Presley, who was a big pivotal part of the Astros winning the World Series last season as a closing pitcher. He's kind of where we don't know what's going on with him. Like his ERA is getting, you know, it's growing. His then we have another one, Montero, who's also who was also pretty decent. He was a little shaky last season, but this season it's everything's gone downhill for him. And I think in the Reds series he was a closer. And I don't know if he was a closer or not, but I can't remember what he was. But he let like 7 runs in. I mean, you the Reds series should have been one of those where the Astros should have just completely not dominated, but at least give them a run for their money. The Astros got swept. Like that to me that shouldn't have happened. Now, a lot of it, like I said, the cohesiveness with the team. Like every day, I see it every day. We have somebody else starting at bat. We had Chas McCormick at one point. Then we have Altuve. Then we have Mauricio Dubon. We have all these players that, and I think yesterday we had Corey Jokes on, who was the lead bat. I'm like, and then it just changes the whole lineup, which is there's no cohesiveness like there was last year. I didn't see that much lineup changes last season when we won the World Series. So it kind of I don't know, like I just don't think it builds chemistry. I could be wrong with the team. I was going to give you some numbers. So from 2015 to 2023, at this point a year ago, excuse me, at this point in 2015 the Astros were 41 and 31. 2016 36 36, okay, 500. In 2017 or magic year, haha, bang bang. 2017 48 to 24. 2019, I apologize, 47 to 25 on 20. I apologize. Sorry, look at the wrong number. 48 24 in 2017, 47 25 in 2018, 48 to 24 in 2019, 2021, 44 to 28. Last season, the World Series championship season, by this time last year, they were 45 and 27. And as of right now, their record right now is 39 to 33. It's still a winning record, but it's you know at this point, the way that the Astros are playing, I don't see them catching up to the Rangers. Now we're still in June, though. We're still in June. It's still very early on. After the All Star game, after the trade deadlines, we'll see what the trajectory is, and looks for the Astros. But if this is any indication of how it's going to go from here on out, I don't see the Astros making it that far in the season. Right now, we're right. So we got in our division right now in the AL West, we have the Rangers at number one, and then now the Angels are on top. So we're third in the AL West right now. So, like I said, I don't know. Something needs to happen. We acquired a closing pitcher from I think is Kunel from the Reds a couple of games ago. I mean, that ERA is so high right now. It's Snoop Dogg high. So I don't know. We'll see
Um,
what's going on.
yeah, we will, and you know the fan base better than I will. Would the fan base be up in arms about that? Would they um see it be okay because of the success they've had? How would the fan base react to that?
Yeah. No, I mean, and I wish the best. Like obviously, I and it's not that I'm being pessimistic, but I think it's almost like okay, let's come to a realistic aspect of it. How much can we continue with this or what now? And then of course it doesn't help that Jordan Alvarez is not in the lineup right now because he's hurt. He's going to be out for like 3 more weeks or so. So that's your big All Star guy. So maybe when he comes back, maybe when people start getting healthy, there's rumors that maybe Michael Brantley comes back again. Also, he's feeling healthier, so that's another. That's something else. But right now, also, the offense is it's inconsistent. So if you can get some consistency, maybe some people start healing up. The Astros can definitely get hot again. They have that potential. They have the team to do it. So, not being overly pessimist, but almost like, okay, let's be real about this, guys. What are we gonna do about it? But that's how I see it right now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very
Mhm,
interesting, not just this season, how they move on past that, because
mhm,
every team that's had success always comes
mhm.
does there come a time where you maybe need to bring in some new blood,
Hmm.
um, even get rid of a fan favorite or two? So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting on what they decide to do going forward.
Yeah, they have some people that, let's say, at the trade. I think the trade deadline is going to be interesting for the Astros. There our new GM Dana Brown has mentioned that they're going to be aggressive. He's been on record saying, "Hey, we're going to be aggressive during the trade deadline," which makes it seem like, oh, we got some people that we're probably not gonna that are currently in the lineup that might not be there after the trade deadline. One guy that I'm potentially looking at, and I know I'm probably gonna get some hate for it for my local Houston people, Corey Jolks. He has been pretty good. I don't know if you're going to use him as somebody that you can trade to get somebody else. Maybe I don't know, but he's one of those people that I can see that. I don't think they'll let go of any pitchers. Last season, they were trying to get rid of Urquidy, which is one of our pitchers who's injured right now. I don't see with the success that we've had with our pitchers right now. I think they're not going to trade one of Urquidy unless it's somebody that's better. I don't know, but I just don't see them trading something. I think if they go get somebody, they go get another at bat right now. And I was thinking they're gonna go get a pitcher this season, but the way that things are going, I think they're gonna get somebody at bat. Hopefully, something that addresses those positions. All the troubles that the Astros are having this season.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Now, Carlos, before we finish things up, what have you got coming up this week on the channel? Obviously, I know you've just launched your wrestling show as
Yeah.
well.
So we have so what this we have today at night. We're recording a show. We're hoping with Tyler Milner. That's why I haven't announced it because we're hoping with Tyler Milner, who's a executive producer here for our local sports radio 610, which is they gave us all the news for the Texans and all that stuff. So it's a pretty good name, Tyler Milner. Yesterday, I was lucky enough. I think I showed Alan the show. One of my favorite wrestlers right now for the wrestling aspect. We got Penta Junior right here. We took a picture with him. He's a really cool dude. I got him to do a promo for the Just Fans podcast, so I'm gonna post it on Twitter later. It's in Spanish, but he you know told people to follow his friends at the Just Fans podcast. So hopefully we can get him on our show, uh, and that would be great so people can learn like his story and everything. So I think that'd be great. What's up, Bo? Bo just sent us a comment right now. How's it going, guys? What's up, Bo? I gotta have you back on the show soon, dude. You're awesome. I think the last time we had you, I was on the way to San Antonio out of town. That was a fun episode, but God, I hate San Antonio, but I love it at the same time. Anyway, but great seeing you, Bo. Well, we gotta have you back on the show. Yeah, I would love to have Pentagon on the show. I think that'd be great for people to, learn about his story and his career. So I think that'd be great for us. So we're trying. We'll see how it goes with Pentagon Junior. Um, Great generational wrestler, in my opinion. And then for the weekend, for our It's Live Saturday night, I actually won't be here. Uh, I won't be here from the 24th of June all the way up until the 31st. So I have Sam doing a couple shows. I think the Saturday night show for me. I talked to Alan yesterday. He might do the next Monday night show with me. And for me, excuse me. And then we might not do the wrestling Wednesday next Wednesday. So I'll be going out of town. I'll be going to Mexico, out of the country, for a few days. Got to go visit my grandpa. I haven't seen him in a good while, so I'm gonna be out of town for a little bit, but then I'll be back, and we'll be doing our regular shows, and we'll go from there.
Um, First of all, hope you have a good time away, and everyone be sure to subscribe to Carlos and the guys. Well worth the price of admission. even if missed the first down makes the odd appearance,
Yeah,
but
he'd be all
otherwise
right.
top priority set up.
Exactly. He might bring the show down a little bit, but he's a good guy. Just kidding. Sam's great. We love having him on.
Yeah,
But yeah,
same
thank
thing.
you. And also, again, big shout out to you, Dan, for like again arranging all of this and for. So we talked before we go. We talked to Alan yesterday while we were talking, and we were talking about how obviously you're responsible for all this. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, it's up to you. But the environment that you've created, where all of us just kind of hang out and not worry about whatever political issues happen worldwide, not just here in the States. We don't have to worry about all of everything that happens around us, on a daily basis. This is a place where you come to and just hang out with the boys, have a beer like Rios, or just hang out and just talk sports. It's in the name. Let's talk sports. So I think that you've made, and I've told you this countless times, Dan, and I never get tired of it. You probably do, but I won't. um, you've done a great job, putting all of us together just to escape that reality that we live, where we hear all these things that are negative, whatever you feel like, and just creating this sports community of Let's Talk Sports. So big shout out to Dan the man. That's why Dan is great. So thank you.
Thanks for that, Carlos. I mean, it's always great seeing the community with Bill. I've talked pretty open about my first ever co-host, Keith, who I do the Friday show with. If I was getting a bit disillusioned, no, not necessary. I didn't know anyone was watching, and he was so welcoming to me, sort of showed me what I wanted. Let's Talk Sports to be, and now he's on my network, so it's all about connecting with someone, and that's what we're trying to here, I feel.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's all about the connections that you make with people. Like I said, we would have never met these people, Alan, Sam, Tanner, Botkins, all these people that we're pretty close to you. We wouldn't have met all these people and we would have missed out on things that we didn't know. And so, Alan, all these great people that are on the network. Even my friends at Hardcore Sports, we met them, through here too. So, Mitch, so like all these guys that we've met are all, thanks to you, dude. Like you deserve a lot of credit for it. And so it's been fun. Like I was telling the guys the other day, for some reason, so I don't really look at my analytics on the show as much as I should, because sometimes it gets a little depressing. Like, oh, nobody's watching. But I told the guys the other day, I was like, you know what, I'll look at the analytics here and there. And I remember like a year ago we still didn't have the YouTube show. We were just kind of like Apple, Spotify, and we were lucky if we got like eight listeners or something like that. Eight listeners. And the reason I'm saying is because, to a point that you brought up right now, that if anybody was listening, we were getting like eight people, and like two of them were my girlfriend, and her friend, and then us. And so then we had like a small audience. And then let's flash forward a year. Like, we got the YouTube channel going. We got views. We're getting better. And from what I saw in the analytics report, a couple of days ago when I showed the guys, I was like, guys, I screenshot and I sent it to the chat, and I was like, y'all, check this out. How much we've grown since a year ago when we were like getting together and getting eight listeners. Now we're doing, way better than what we were last year. And we don't know what's going to happen the year after that, the year after that, and the year after that. So it's been good. And again, you've been one of the reasons why. So thank you, Dan.
No problem at all, Carlos. And yeah, it's always nice to see the growth. I know I certainly get more from other people, Dwayne, who's
Mhm.
on my network than myself. And I will tease we've got something going on, a cool announcement soon. I should be able to announce it by our next show together.
Mhm.
So looking forward to that. And
Mhm.
yeah, all what remains is for me to thank you for joining me today, Carlos.
I appreciate you, Dan. Again, thank you for having for being on my show today. So, like I said, so I won't be available next Monday for the show because I'll be down in Mexico. But the following Monday should be good to go. So we'll do that. Please follow Let's Talk Sport Network on Twitter at Let Talk Sport. Uh, just how it appears right there. There's a lot of great shows that come on the network, and they're amazing. And Dan does a wonderful job behind the scenes, on the scenes. He's all over the place. None of this would be possible without the man himself, Dan the Man. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us on the show. I appreciate that, dude. Dan.
No problem at all. My pleasure as always.
All right. Thank you, Dan. All right, y'all. We'll see y'all. We'll record our episode tonight. It'll our late night episode tonight, and then it'll be out by Tuesday morning. We'll share it out to you guys on Twitter as always. Don't forget to follow us at JustFans22 on Twitter. That'll be it. Dan, don't go just yet. We're gonna end the show though, but everybody else, peace. See y'all later.